Please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
Welcome back. Well, about a minute and a half for pre-open. Ashwani, I wanted your thoughts on IT stocks. Had a bit of a profit booking consolidation. You reckon they're ready for next move?
Well, they've had a very large move. So, you can't consolidate for hardly 2 weeks and then again start running. They've been running for 4 months. So, I think more consolidation will be needed. Better news will need to come out, because if all kinds of rupee downside has not been able to take them higher, that means the stocks at this point are probably fully priced and they need to consolidate. Maybe next quarter, if things continue to improve, you'll get that fresh move. But overall, given the way the market is declining and given the way these guys are holding up, they are stronger relative to the markets.
Okay, well, today the rupee we should watch, because we're almost getting into 94 on the dollar index. So we'll have to see whether that's having an impact. Though actually, since stocks have been very positive in the Asian scene, at the moment perhaps the crunch is not being felt across Asia. So maybe we'll have to wait and see. But for us, it could be an important monitorable. Let's just wait for, since it's only a few seconds, I'll wait for that before we get to Sandeep with more questions. There goes the 9 a.m. The first 9 a.m. trade is negative. Nifty is down about 0.5%. But anyway, these are all very, very knee-jerk. I really want to look at Ultratech first up. I mean, HDFC Bank can't start 10% lower. Ultratech is starting 10% higher. Okay, we get the broad thrust that at the moment you are going to see something very positive. Maybe if we can, we should also get a Century Textiles number before we start looking at other things. Century Textiles down 10%. Okay. So, well, clearly that's the direction of the market. At the moment, the Nifty is down about 0.4. And we are awaiting the rupee. Okay, not a very, very weak opening. The dollar is up 12 paise.
Okay, a couple of more stocks perhaps that you'd want to look at this morning. You have Ashok Leyland that reported a decent set of numbers, stable numbers over there. But the stock, remember, has seen a very, very big run up. So there's some amount of profit taking that you're seeing. Amara Raja Batteries is the other one. It's actually reported disappointment in terms of margins. So that stock is absolutely flat. We'll wait by for these rates to adjust. But for now, let's get some more calls in. Sandeep, for something like an Ashok Leyland, it's had a spectacular year. You think the best is in the price, or do you see more?
Well, I think if we are looking at the way, since some of the companies are extreme CV-focused players, I think the way ICV, MCV, the entire series was moving up, we had an expectation that this could be a turn of the curve, and the curve could be going up at least for another 12 to 18 months. But right now, with the increasing interest rate, we just don't know whether there's going to be a pause. But I think the trend is clearly up. So CV players are going to be in a good zone at least for another maybe couple of quarters. But whether it's there in the price or the rich valuations will be maintained, that's a different question. But I think underlying business trend is clearly up.
Okay, so that's on Ashok Leyland. Well, Sandeep, what's your take on the cement space? I mean, there's this major consolidation that's coming up. And of course, there will be the rural housing thrust and more for rural areas. Is it some place to hide?
It could be, Lata. I think if you see the second rung, I mean, leave apart the kingpin of the sector who is in the news today. But if you look at the second and third rung sector, especially regional players, I think they have demonstrated remarkable resilience. And I think that those players, especially AP, Karnataka, Maharashtra, those zone players, could be in for a good time in the next 3 to 4 quarters. And they are also in a value for money zone right now. So I guess anybody wanting to do hunting there, you're going to get options abounding, and they could be giving you something like maybe 2x on the table in the next 2.5 to 3 years.
There's a couple of more stocks. Bank of India is up about 5%. There's Bhushan Steel resolution, of course. So, and the big question is, will this rally sustain? Because obviously there's going to be some right back. But then let's see if that sustains or not. JP Associates post the numbers is up about close to 3%. So that could be interesting. Quick thoughts on Bank of India or any other PSU bank, Sandeep?
Well, Anuj, I think, yes, NCLT and Bhushan and all, we hear about big figures. I think Lata also put a figure of somewhere close to 90,000 crore if everything moves well. But is it going to make or give some kind of a life-saving injection to the PSU banks? I don't think so. I think this is on a sliding, you are on a slippery slope. Yes, you could see a trade here and there, but don't try to make an investment case out of it.
Okay, we
slippery slope. Yeah. I use that word. Okay, it's my edited mint that he's referring to. But well, actually, maybe we want to go through the Bhushan Steel numbers regardless. Let me first put a caveat that Tata Steel has announced to the exchanges that it has won 72.7% stake in Bhushan Steel by paying 32,500 crores. But remember, Bhushan Steel has challenged it in the NCLAT. For what it is worth, I'm just putting that. And Sandeep referred to 90,000 crores from the steel sector generally. This is the math. There is from Bhushan Steel and Power, there is another 18,000 crore that will come. Okay, first SR Steel, around 32,000 to 37,000 crores going by current bids. And then 17 to 18,000 crores is what is being offered by the various bidders for Bhushan Power. And then for Electro Steel, you've got Vedanta offering about 3,500 crores for the bankers. And maybe if Arcelor got the deal in SR, it has promised to, it has escrowed an amount of 7,000 crores for the other liabilities it has, largely Uttam Galva. If you put all this together, bankers can make 90,000 crores. Now, what are the problems here? Remember, the NCLT bench is on leave for 2-week vacation. So, you know, you have to finish all these in the next 30 days. They come in after vacation in the first week of June. So, in 4 weeks, how much of this 90,000 crores? It looks like it's a little difficult because many of them are in various stages of challenge. Especially SR, which many people expect JSW is seriously interested. It can go all the way to the Supreme Court for various reasons. And therefore, this quarter, all that you can promise, you can get is 32,500 crore from Bhushan Steel. One can't make too much of other deals. That may come in the second quarter. Now, just the distribution, the biggest goes to State Bank, 11,600 crores. That may release estimated provision of about 1,800 crores. That's a large amount that SBI gets. Then Central Bank will, the exposure is 257 crores. Release of provision is estimated, sorry, 2570 crores. Estimated provision release is 530 crore. Bank of Baroda exposure is 2380 crores. Estimated provision release is about 400 crores. ICICI exposure is 2200 crores. Estimated provision release is about 200 crore. And Axis exposure is 1740 crores. Estimated release of provision is 470 crores. Those are the major banks. Bank of India also about 2300 crores.
Okay, well, let's get back to the markets because now the pre-opening rates are settling with a gain of almost about 55 points on the Sensex and about 0.2% on the Nifty. By the way, some more stocks to react to. Manappuram Finance is down about 2.5% post its numbers. And Kitex Garments, you know, that stock at one point used to be the darling of the market. It's of course halved in the last 2 years. So it's had a very disappointing time, and rightfully so, because the numbers this time are very weak. Revenues have fallen 26%. EBITDA has cracked 60%, and that stock in pre-opening is now down about 7%. But Ashwini, quick thoughts on the pre-opening levels. Any thoughts on how to approach any of these cement names? Of course, Ultratech is in focus, but anything else that you would like here?
See, cement has basically been in a fairly strong downtrend. I won't hesitate to call it even a bear market. Ambuja Cement has fallen very strongly. Now, Ultratech has this news, and this is the kind of news which can create some amount of short covering. But Ultratech also is, you know, between 38.50 and 45.50, absolute lower end of the range. If I get a 4-5% upside open, you know, you got to chase it. But overall, there's nothing much in cement. Century Textile, etc., was anyway in a downtrend. Possibly this can lead it further lower. But I don't think cement overall has too much traction.
Cement is in a bear market actually. Ambuja, ACC made fresh 52-week lows. India Cement has been making 52-week lows. So the only one which hasn't made 52-week lows is Ultratech. But that one also is actually down 10% from the start of the year.
If it's just an intraday trade from Ashwini on Ultratech, is there one?
See, it's at the lower end of the range. 38.50 is a place where it has come, you know, 3 or 4 times and has gone back to 45.50. Now, if this is as good a news as you know, it's looking, and the stock really opens up 4-5% higher, then chances are we could at least get back to 41.50, if not 45.50. So that way, the news may create somewhat of a bigger short covering.
By the way, the pre-open has now settled, and the big point about pre-open is the Bank Nifty 142 point higher, and that's because both SBI and ICICI Bank are up quite a bit. SBI is up 2%, ICICI Bank is up about 1%, so that's the number 2 and 3. Bhushan effect, of course. Will it sustain? Ashwani, will 150 point be powerful enough to force some short covering, especially from the weaker bears?
I would think so, because this is opening, a bit better than expected. But clearly, if we are able to sustain, say, 26,020 thereabouts, then, if the first selling, in the initial phase does not take the market to a fresh low, then you will start seeing short covering. And that should be okay, because the bigger the short covering you get, the bigger the shorts will come later on. Nobody should try to chase these sort of upside, because we've often seen that global cues never really take our markets up if the trend is on the other side.
Okay, well, Sudarshan, I wanted to pose the same Bank Nifty question to you. Nifty Bank or any of the banks?
No, only the Nifty Bank is a buy because of private sector banks. The rally in PSUs will fizzle out. But it's an intraday buying opportunity. The Nifty and the Nifty Bank are both apparently a buy in the morning and a sell by afternoon.
Okay, well, Ashwini, what would your 9-10 call be? What would you be looking at?
See, chances are you will find Ajanta Pharma also opening higher. So that would be a good time to sell, because I think the mid-cap selling will start possibly in the first 15-20 minutes. So that would be a sell with a stop of 1040, target of 990. Index people should not try to play with early morning. Maybe let this rally get over, and then possibly you'll get a much bigger thrust on the downside.
Okay, Sandeep, I wanted to ask you, will you touch any of the banks?
Well, I think even in PSU, forget about PSU banks, even in private sector banks now certain question marks are being raised. So I guess if you want, you have to go to the extreme top end of the spectrum, or go for the third rung private sector banks. But I think mainstream PSU banks, just give them a miss. You may have this kind of news coming up, some write backs, some bounce ups and all. But again, as I mentioned, Lata, the slope is very slippery. Okay,
and finally, retail. After that marquee deal, even before that, all those future group stocks were running like no tomorrow. And look, if you looked at the future lifestyle numbers, they're pedestrian.
Well, I think right now it's, I don't know, it may sound crude, but I think we are in a greater fool theory zone there right now. Just because one Walmart came and bought out, people are expecting, second player to come, third player to come, Amazon to do some kind of acquisition. That cannot be the thesis for investing at this current juncture, because I think we have got too much variables, and just because one deal has happened because of some extraneous circumstances, it cannot be the norm for the sector. So yes, I think numbers will ultimately start coming to the fore and drive the valuation, and that time we could be in for an extreme corrective action there. So it's a momentum players zone. If you are a momentum player, play in it, otherwise stay aside.
Okay, actually, Ashwini was talking about how pharma, there could be some selling pressure there. Look at Stride Shasun, another day running, that stock could be under pressure. Motilal Oswal has actually halved their target price on that to 481 versus 989 earlier. Of course, they were much higher, but look at where the stock price is now. Sandeep, I just quickly wanted your thoughts on the battery space. Amara Raja and Exide both out with numbers. Do you like either?
Well, I think the sector is going to be on a strong uptrend. So it's going to be 6 of one, half a dozen of other. Both are going to be on a good footing. But I think if you try to figure out on what we can call the cost competitive metrics, I think Amaraja stands slightly better there on cost competitive metrics, especially on the manufacturing side. So I think it's going to be a trade. So you can take your pick wherever you want.
Okay, Sandeep, thanks a lot for joining us. That's the view from Sandeep Shenoy, of course. Still about 2 minutes left for markets to open. Mitesh, your thoughts on pre-opening and any interesting stock idea?
Anuj, as I said, I think the Bank Nifty has not broken a key support area. That could be the long trade to begin with. And if 25,750 doesn't happen and Nifty slightly, slowly starts getting about 10,630, that could lead to some more strength. So maybe 1-2 days could be spent giving a stronger pullback rally. But if the Bank Nifty breaks below 25,750, then I think we'll go aggressively short in the market.
Okay, actually Bank of India is starting about 6% higher. that's because the Bank of India managing director was widely quoted in the papers as saying that his exposure is 1993 crores. But it's not the highest exposure. Like I was reading out to you, there's SBI, ICICI, Axis, Central Bank, all of them have over 2,000 crores exposure. But because that news was so widely flashed, I think Bank of India is now getting more attention than others. But there are a bunch of banks like we ran, and we should, I think, keep referring to that table again in terms of the exposure to various, exposure of various banks to Bhushan and therefore the money they will make. But I think that would be largely priced in. Against it is the negativity that the February circular will bring in as much poison out as we saw in the case of Indian Bank and we saw in the case of other public sector banks. This positivity is already in the price, I would think. The markets are starting with just about 0.2 in terms of gain at the moment, if you look at the pre-market. Ashwini, if it is just this, then what's the trade?
So you wait for a bit of a rally to play out, and chances are after 5-6 days of a decline, you will have that rally, and then look for short positions at higher levels.
Okay. Sudarshan, if this is the start, you still would be a buyer in the Nifty Bank.
That's right. That's an intraday buying opportunity. The bigger trade will come on a rally when we start building short positions or add to short positions. But the morning trade is to buy the Nifty Bank.